his way in.
Excellent.
Okay. All right. We got another special. What did you think last week, by the way, of having Rania with us? Any thoughts?
She sounded awesome.
Yeah.
I thought so too. I thought she was really, quote unquote, really real. And that was cool of her to just take field questions and get involved. So yeah, I thought it was great. And this week we have Ryan. Ryan, help me not butcher your name. Is it Zehner?
It's Zehner, but
Zehner?
thanks, Andrew, and great to meet you all.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And so we'll be introducing Ryan shortly. He's heads up the Kaseya on the data / backup side of things. Is that a high level, Ryan? I know you'll give us the lowdown, but we wanted to I think you're here to ask some questions about the backup side of things. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's right. I think we can, the short answer is that I'm part of an internal consulting group here at Kaseya, and we're trying to understand how everyone in the MSP space feels about backup, how you buy it now, what is your consideration of different vendors, and where do you perceive your needs evolving over the next couple of years. And so I guess we can just plug it now, but essentially I'm running a project to talk to as many customers as we possibly can to understand everyone's perspectives. And if anyone is interested in taking part of that, essentially being part of the next wave of products that we develop across the whole backup suite and what features we prioritize, please let me know. Talk to me, talk to Andrew, talk to Jim. But we're very, very interested in getting feedback from as broad an audience as we possibly can. So please raise your hand, let us know, and we'll reach out to you to schedule some time.
Yeah, it looks like there's a hand. And Enrique, do you have a question or are you volunteering?
I'm volunteering, and what the MSPs want, here it goes, month to month with 3-year commit pricing, free hardware, and you got us for life.
All right.
But I'm
Well, thank
volunteering
you,
as well,
Enrique.
Ryan.
Ryan, can you give us a thesis, like start off, like what are you
Sure.
hearing so far? What's kind of like behind the project and maybe give us some things you might be
Yeah,
looking for, and then we can get some good dialogue going for you here.
yeah, absolutely. So in broad strokes, we're thinking about this as a longer term project to inform R&D. So, Enrique, we totally hear you that people have pretty strong opinions about things like pricing and contract structure and service and all these other things that we can improve and fix, and we're working on that. But the genesis of this project is 3 years from now, 2 years from now, what are the key features or functionalities or ability that you want the various parts of the backup suite to have, whether that's the appliance-based or the SaaS-based or the direct-to-cloud side or any different flavor of that. And so we're setting up series of interviews with customers where we talk to them for an hour. And the first hour is just, how do you think about backup? What are you looking for? What unmet needs do you have? Walk us through the way that you consider this space in general. And then we're taking all that information, we're digesting it, and we're building different prototypes or sample offerings that we could go build. And then we're going to come back to you all with, okay, we talked to 30, 40, 50 customers, whatever it is. In general, here's what we're hearing. What if we built something that looks like this? How interested would you be in that? What thoughts or considerations or concerns would you have? And then use those discussions based on the prototypes to inform the R&D and the development that we go after for the next little bit. So again, what we're looking for is a couple people who really want to work with us, be partners with us in terms of how we shape what backup looks like. And the ask for you would be basically 2 different 60-minute sessions, one to be pretty soon and the other one to be at some point in August.
Ryan, let me ask you, if I could ask a question, and I'll start with Andy there with his hand up.
Yeah, sure.
Do you think there's any consideration, one area that we find a lot, and we find this actually in the incident response world, is that, business impact assessment or analysis aren't taken into consideration, RTO, RPO, and things of that are things that we, obviously MSPs know about, but when you get an IR firm in an incident and they start to talk about where's the critical data, what comes up first, second, et cetera.
Yeah.
Is that being taken into account of how you also inform and help the MSPs? Because I think it's there's a missing component as MSPs continue to move into this role of VCISO
Yep.
as a component. Let
Yep.
me know your thesis. Does that resonate at all with you?
So it absolutely does. And I think honestly, one of the things that we're pushing on is exactly how valuable would that be, right? At the end of the day, is it you just care about, RTO, RPO? At the end of the day is what matters the UI, UX. At the end of the day is what matters all these other things. And so we're trying to approach this from a broader lens of it doesn't have to be just about the, horsepower of the machine, to use a metaphor, but like in general, what are you looking for from a backup provider? And is that the specs on the device itself? Is it more of the interaction with the entire suite? Is it more that higher level advice in terms of all these other things? So I think what we're looking for is exactly that. Like at the end of the day, what matters now? And to the extent you can feel the world changing around you a little bit, what do you think that would look like 12 to 36 months from now?
Cool. Andy, what do you got there,
Well,
man? And then I'd like to ask Corey because he lives in this world quite a bit of on the right of boom world. So anyway, but Andy, starting with you.
So Ryan, there's two perspectives of this. One is the customer's perspective, the other is the MSP's perspective. And when I think about
Yep.
it from the MSP's perspective, we have a list of questions that we want to ask our customers so that we can set expectations and have those expectations met, whether they're compliance related, whether it's RTO or RPO, whether it's
Mhm.
on-site, whether they have a mix of data on devices that one set is critical and one set isn't critical. So we could route that backup accordingly, right? If I
Mhm.
have an iPhone and I'm storing data on it and it cycles up to the cloud, I want to know that's not compliant because iCloud doesn't give me HIPAA compliant protection. But
Yep.
can I actually stop that? If I'm beginning to manage backup, can I help manage some of these compliance issues? Can I help
Yep.
set an RTO and an RPO for a specific category of content, backup data that I need to deliver on, and to be able to measure, given the customer's current internet bandwidth and storage capacity, whether they can meet that, so that we're not, well, I've just got this cloud backup and I'm told that that's the cheapest thing for me to do. And I said, well, how long could you operate without it? And let's test what your bandwidth would be as an example. So to me, it's a nuance coming then from the
Yep.
customer's perspective.
Yep.
What are their expectations, and then showing them how long it would take to do these different categories with certain
Yep.
price points. So I'm looking at it from that perspective.
Yeah, Andy, that's really helpful. And not to volunteer you, but I might reach out to you directly to see if you're willing to talk to us for a little bit more time. But I think one of the options that we're very actively considering is in that vein, right? It's like, okay, how can the MSPs how can we help the MSPs add more value to their customers by getting more intelligent around not only the data itself, but all of these exact considerations like compliance and then what realistic expectations are to set. And so I totally hear you. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think one of the potential value offering prototypes that we're thinking about is that it's the backup itself is important, but how can we layer on more and more advice
Right.
and more depth of insight into that so that the MSP can add more value to its customer and so that we can all, make more money, all do a better job.
There you
And
go.
so I think that's definitely one of the high level buckets that we'd love to toss out there. And then I think, again, Andy, if you're willing to talk
Because
to us
that'll
for
inform our
60 minutes.
decisions going down as we move.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the idea there for me, at least.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I
of
want
course.
to chime in. The backup has to be rock solid. Like there can't be any doubt and low ticket noise,
Mm,
because that wears us out. And then we think a backup's good when it's not, an excellent reporting that we can show to clients. And then back to Andrew's first question. Thank you so much for organizing, getting Rania. I was so impressed with her last week. And she really seems to really have a handle on everything that's going on, very approachable, and very impressed she's going to take that hot spice challenge. So,
We're having you do it at Right of Boom, man, just so you know.
okay. Yeah, I'm Norwegian. I can't handle any spice.
Too funny. Very cool. Yeah, I thought she was fantastic as well. Hey, Corey, just curious. I know you don't have your hand up, but you deal with a lot of post-event issues, unfortunately. What are you seeing in this area? Where do you think MSPs get backup wrong from a recovery perspective? What do you see?
So not following, you know me, I always talk about the basics and the basics that we've been talking about when it comes to backup solutions for the longest time of storing offsite, right? Protecting the integrity of the backups. I'm consistently seeing, I back up to a server that is part of my internal network. Then they get compromised and the backups get ransomed, right? Or the backups get corrupted, stolen, deleted, etc. So not protecting the integrity of their backups is still a very consistent thing that I see out there. I kind of miss the old days of the LTO tapes and having Iron Mountain come and take your LTO tapes out to their co-location. At least we know it was more secure that way. But that's, I think, the most common pain point I'm seeing is not validating the integrity of their backups, storing them offsite, protecting them during an event, or as I think Andy might have been alluding to it, was making sure you're backing up all the right things, making sure you have full backup coverage in the event that a compromise does occur. So there's been many situations where we couldn't recover the data because they didn't realize their backups either weren't working or they weren't backing up the right stuff.
Yeah. No, really, really good point. Thanks for that, Corey. Be cool even too, Ryan, if there was some kind of just auto detection, if there wasn't segmentation, or like if you are like we still see lack of segmentation during compromises of the backups.
Yep.
So who else? We got a lot of folks here. Don't be shy. This is your time to shine. And
imagine having influence over Kaseya's product development and positioning for the next 3 years. That would be amazing.
Wait till you see the beautiful firewalls we're pulling out.
This is the opportunity that you have right now.
That's right.
For that, Andy.
Yeah.
So may I start if I may chime in here, everybody?
Good to see you.
What's going on? So I actually dropped off the call as soon as we got done with Ronnie last time, and I saw you and Chip kind of making fun of me for Vegas that I can't drink. That's funny. But what came out of that is
Not true. We weren't making fun of you.
all the love. I get it. That's fine. We're going to do it again in Miami. All good. So she actually reached out to me directly and scheduled a follow-up call with me and Anthony Era. And we had a 45-minute conversation with her. So she actually, mentioned influencing the product line. And that's exactly what she mentioned, that if we have anything to kind of mention, if we had anything to say, to reach out to her directly, which was really, really cool to hear. As far as backups, I guess from what we're seeing, we're, I would say 90% on Azure for our clients, and there's only a handful of clients that are utilizing, the old school backups. But time to restore is crucial, right? Your backups could be stored offsite, it could be stored in a safe place, the backups could be all good, but if it takes a day to restore, a day to get them back up and running, it's useless. And we used Veeam before, now we're with Datto. And both of the products, the instant restore was amazing. You get the customer up and running, and while they're up and running, you just start copying everything back, and all the snapshots are there. The instant VM or the instant copy is there, so that's important. Time to restore is crucial, in my opinion.
That was big.
That's all I got.
Similar, Roman. That was big for me when when bare metal restores came out. Being able to spin up VMs based off your backups to quickly be able to get services back up and running. I think that was huge when that technology first came out.
Yep. And the ones that we do have on backup, they're all running VMs. They're on virtual machines, and the reason why we kind of chose Veeam years ago is they had an ability to back up the hypervisor direct without putting an agent on a virtual machine. So that was actually really, really cool too. I know I restored multiple times, and we just kind of pushed the new VM right back onto the hypervisor without me spinning the VM up and spinning up the windows and then copying data over that would waste precious time. And time is something we don't have in case of a disaster. So that's definitely something that is important.
Ryan,
Yeah.
I would add two more things. One is more than just Microsoft 365 and Azure, but add Google and add AWS, and then add an element around how AI is going to impact this over time. Because I see that being really transformative, being able to do something like a Backblaze and have longer term storage for less valuable content, and understand that it changes its RTO, right? But not, so those would be having that differentiation, I think would be very helpful.
Yeah, great idea, Andy. Thank you.
Good stuff. What else we got here? Who else?
Any volunteers, I guess, for Ryan?
I put it in the chat.
Okay, great. Didn't see that. So,
And Ryan,
You got Tobin.
I would say dedicated restore support. Because one of the problems we've had in the past is when a customer needs a bare metal restore, and you have to go through the regular support line, and get escalated until you can get somebody who can actually help you. The worst thing on the planet is having a customer down and having them see you on the phone trying to get somebody to help with the restore. A lot of times things go right, but when they don't go right, you want to make sure you can get to somebody right away.
Makes sense. Thank you.
so Ryan, did you get what you needed?
Yeah, absolutely. And for all the people who raised their hand, thank you. And we'll reach out to you directly. So appreciate it.
Okay. Awesome.
Thanks for coming on, Ryan. And you're welcome to stay, by the way, as well, if you'd like. If
Thank you.
not, no, we're not offended if you need to get other things done in your life, because here on out, the call just goes downhill.
Oh, it's Jim's turn next. How could it go downhill from there?
Exactly.
Just
Thank
kidding.
you, Andy.
All right, Jim.
Okay, so I have one win. So I was on a customer call late last week, and we were going through a bunch of the things they do, and they're like, "Oh, we've been looking forward to talking to you because we're a big SaaS search customer," and they were really excited to talk about what they had done with Fortify,
Mm-hmm.
and that they were essentially prospecting with it, and they had gone out and done assessments and demonstrated to the customer really low Microsoft security scores. And they were really excited to share that they, out of the 5 customers they had taken it to in the last month, they landed 3 of them on recurring deals.
Good.
Awesome. Jim, did they say in particular how they presented it or how they were able to articulate the value? Was there a certain report? Was there?
Well, I mean, as you guys know, there's a lot of reports that you can show the customer, but one of the things that really was enlightening was they said, "Look, you have a Microsoft security score. Do you know what it is?" And
They
they said,
started with basics. Do you know even know what it
they
is?
said they had no idea what their security score was. So they're like, "Well, we can tell you if you'd like to know. No obligation." And then they all said, "Sure, we would like to know." And then they ran the report, and they came back in a couple of weeks, and they showed them that I think the scores were somewhere in the one like 25 to 50 range.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, and then they showed them what it could have been, right, if they were taking the right steps and taking the right actions based on the license type. And they just demonstrated that they showed the customer, this is what we could be doing for you. And they're like, we had no idea. We had no idea that we were essentially not taking advantage of everything we could be from a Microsoft licensing perspective. So thank you. If this is the type, more or less, I'm paraphrasing, but if this is the type of thing that you can bring to the table, like, we're excited about the relationship going forward. And so they're able to land 3 out of the 5.
Jim,
which win percentage for MSP is unbelievable.
Yeah. Jim, what's the possibility? I remember years ago when before you went to Kaseya, you had that coaching business, and one of the things you were building was the ability to see by industry. I forget what the program was called, but it was really cool what you were doing. What was the company again?
Clarity Intelligence Platform.
Yes. Yes. And I'm just curious, how quote unquote hard would it be to have a field per client for sick code, where you have now all of a sudden all this anonymous data, like, hey, we're not going to look at any specific companies, but based on sick code, we'll be able to provide any SaaS customer, the metrics of good, better, the matrix of what is the best, in law firms, what does good look like in architecture. And then as an MSP, I could go, look, let me share with you what best in class looks like compared to your peers. Is there any capabilities to potentially?
We now have, we've often thought about how benchmarking is really important.
Right.
And, we're going to get better and better on the benchmarking side. I'm super confident of that. So that's really where that comes in. And people love to know how they stack up, to your point. If I'm a law firm that's got 50 employees, like, where do I stack up in the pantheon of other, 50 to 100 person law firms out there with my Microsoft security score?
I'll buy just because of that word, Jim. That was
What's that?
I would buy just because of that word, pantheon.
Pantheon.
It's
SAT word for sure. So it's it's becoming more and more powerful, and you just need to, I think, some of the things I'm hearing from folks as I have these conversations is that they're getting really creative about how they're leveraging the tool from a prospecting and growth perspective, which is great because that's obviously something we've been preaching here for a long time.
So just let me ask you one other way, and we'll continue with wins, Jim. Is there the ability for my own tenant to run a report? If I had 100 people, 100 companies running Fortify, to go, this is my bell curve. This is what best in class looks like. This, to be able to, again, for the ones that aren't, hey, let me show you across my customer base, what good looks like.
Yeah, that's currently on the Fortify dashboard. There's 3 widgets that are always there that'll tell you how your practice overall looks.
Do you think everybody knows that, Amanda? Like, just quick show of hands, or like in chat, can you say yes, you do know that across all your customers, or no? I'd just like to know.
No, I don't know. Jim, I will add, I think adding an element besides the sick code idea is a total cost of ownership. If they don't have these security scores in place, how does that add to your costs elsewhere? Right? And that comes back to the theme that Kaseya is trying to do with 365, is driving these costs down. And ultimately, it's going to benefit the customer. So adding that element in that communication or piece of it.
So, yeah, absolutely. Amanda, not this second, but would you be able to show that once we're done with wins by chance? Because there looks like probably, at least the people that have responded, 50% don't know.
Yeah, just give me a second. I'll log in.
Yeah, perfect. So who else has got some wins here? Jim, thanks for sharing that, by the way.
Absolutely.
Other wins. And thanks for joining.
I'll go again, Andy. So to just kind of piggyback on what Jim said, trying to pour some of the John said, prospecting with SaaS alerts. We're trying to displace a client, a managed client, credit union, and they have, how, I forget who it was that mentioned. I think it was Nadir that said, you could have multiple best of breed products, but if they don't talk to each other, there's no point, right? So they have Rapid7. And you ask them, hey, what components do it have? I don't know. You have a SIM? I don't know. You have SaaS monitoring? I don't know. So I got on, I showed them briefly the SaaS Alerts platform and Fortify. And once I showed them the templates, I'm like, hey, look, you could do all these things, enforce MFA every night at midnight, do this, do that, do all these other things. His eyes kind of went like this. Like, I do this manually with PowerShell. I'm like, well, there you go. And then it started getting into the fact that it's now a SIM. I could monitor all other events besides Microsoft, everything going through Rocket and everything else. Mind blown. But unfortunately, Rapid7 has name recognition versus, other tools that do much more. So we're in that kind of back and forth right now. Yes, we need this, but what there is no Rapid7. Once they hear Rapid7, they don't even need to know anything else. Versus, so hopefully we'll land them. But it just to show that you have David and Goliath, right? So and these people who have all these tools does not always mean that they know what they use it for. They don't know what components they have. They don't have the customers don't even know what they're paying for. So it's very important to do due diligence and to actually, yes, Rapid7 is great, but what is it? What does it do for you? Nobody knows.
A thought comes up for me is something like a cyber warranty that Cylance does or Munge, or you can bring that in because Kaseya is a stack that they certify against, and they can make you have that capability to offer that to them. That, I think, counteracts name recognition when you can say, look, we can bring these other pieces. It's backed by Lloyd's of London. Here's these elements.
Oh, you mean the cyber insurance policy?
Yeah. Cyber warranty is different than an insurance piece, but that changes the conversation.
Is that the same thing in Kaseya One that they offer? Because we try to with multiple. Okay.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, Yep. Go ahead, John.
I'll just say this. In 2004, Blockbuster had a ton of name recognition.
Yeah.
And Netflix.
There you go. That's true.
But who would it rather be today?
That's true.
So bust that logic out on them.
I'd rather be a red square, Jim.
Yeah. Corey's unfortunately, I got to jump to 1:30. But awesome conversation here. I see Corey's got his hand up.
Yeah, I was going to go to Corey next. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everybody.
Corey.
So this is actually not a technical thing, which is shocking for me. This is actually a business thing that I think might help. Food for thought for everybody on this call. So for the last couple of months, I've been working with one of our very large MSPs out of the United Kingdom. And they agreed what we ended up setting up was a opt-out campaign around our SaaS alerts offering, where they were enabled a 30-day POC for every single one of their customers. They automatically signed every one of their customers up for a 30-day POC for the month of July and did a opt-out campaign. That if you do not opt out at the end of the POC, you're going to be billed the 1st of August. And we've only had a 2% opt out.
That's awesome.
So this is something we've been talking about. I mean, obviously, and it's already showed value. I mean, over the last 2 weeks, we've already had over 2,000 events that we've had to process for them. 2 confirmed adversary in the middle campaigns, and then 20 additional account compromises. So just pushing that envelope and doing an opt-out campaign instead of an opt-in campaign has been very, very successful.
So just to reiterate, Corey, basically what you're saying is everyone gets it
for 30 days
by default, unless you opt out, then you keep it. Versus the other way around.
Yep.
Okay,
correct.
Gotcha.
And this month we set up 3 webinars for all their customers to join to find out what we're doing. And so they automatically sign their customers up and sign 30-day free POC, right? We're going to be monitoring, giving free SOC services for those 30 days with an understanding that at the end of the 30 days, which will be August 1st, that they're going to start getting billed by the MSP for this offering if they don't opt out.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Thank you.
I mean, this is something I learned from Matt Lee as well. I mean, Matt Lee and I and Michael Kareen have had a lot of conversations. And, when he was part of the big MSP, when they had to raise prices, this is something similar to what they did. Instead of kind of asking permission, you indicate, hey, we're raising the prices. And everyone thinks, oh, all of my customers are going to leave me. But no, they don't. And if you have to raise your prices.
I definitely agree with that. I mean, unfortunately, my Anthony, the owner, he kind of has a different mindset, and we go back and forth and fight. But that's right. What do you guys feel as a group about kind of like an opt-out document or something they sign if they don't want to. Let's say we offer them, you know, SaaS alerts, and this is why it's good. They say no, opt out. Something does it hold up? Because I'm reading different mixed things that it does hold up in court.
No,
It
so you're
does
talking
not.
about, what's it called? Indemnification clause, I think is what it's called.
Kind of like a document saying, "Hey, we suggested this, and you know, you have a
Right.
need. This is what it would cover. You said no, it's on here. You cannot hold us accountable if there's a
That's an
breach, whatever."
indemnification
Right.
clause. Yeah, it's very common in the MSP community. It does not hold up in court. We've had multiple lawyers confirm that.
Okay.
But it does create an emotional reaction.
Right.
So SaaS
Right.
Alerts has
Okay.
a template for that, and that's how we've been promoting our MSPs, and we've had that whole MRR guarantee around that
Mhm.
opt-out campaign. We've got a form letter. It's called Coverage Extension Notification. It links back to the Microsoft terms of use saying, hey, we're on the hook. You know, if your tenant gets breached, it had like a
Mhm.
95% take rate. You send them the reports. I mean, it worked. It's now like a guaranteed, proven method, and we're happy to share that with everyone on the call.
Yep, and we use that to close when we first got SaaS alerts. I think what is it? 2 years ago was it?
Nice.
Way before the Kaseya acquisition, Ben and Anthony shared it with us, and we did use it to close. So, you know, the kind of the reason why we're marking up monitoring now, but I mean more like overall for MSPs,
Yeah.
for
And it's a
any offering.
psychological buy-in more than
Yes.
anything, right? So just
You
wanted
know,
to add
just
that.
to be clear though,
Mhm.
guys, what Corey is suggesting is next level from that. And
Yes, it
the
is.
you know the 98% acceptance rate is exceptional because
Right.
what they're doing is they're loading them up. You know, it's not just a coverage extension or coverage rejection letter pre-hand. They're loading them up first, giving them
Mhm.
data, then and telling them at the same time this is going to automatically convert to billing unless you tell us that you want us to take it off. I mean,
And
it's a
showing value with webinars.
yeah.
I mean, there's
What
a
I love
whole support group around that.
Yep.
what I love hearing about it is it's that's a very aggressive strategy that I think a lot of people might be reluctant to take, but the numbers kind of speak for themselves. Like,
Yeah.
I would love it if another half dozen of you guys on this call could go give that a whirl and
Chip,
see if you get similar numbers.
help us get
Yes.
a 30-day grace period for an offering that includes SIEM and SaaS alerts. And so we
Mhm.
could demonstrate and show this. That was not something we have except with SaaS alerts.
I'm working on that, Andy. That's
Yep.
really believe it or not, it's really a billing mechanics thing.
Yep.
And literally every week when I'm late to this call, as I have been for the past 6 weeks, it's on that project that I'm working.
Okay.
So we really are working on that. It's not an easy thing to fix.
Yeah, I
In
understand.
an org this size with as many products as we have, but we are working very, very hard to get you to the same place, at least with the security stack that you always were with SaaS alerts in isolation.
Thanks.
But Corey, way to go.
Yeah,
Just I'll
we
shut up
got the
after that, but attaboy, man.
Yeah,
98%.
our account manager is going to love us this coming billing cycle.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, that kind of brings me back to I was back in the day. I was reading a lot of Brian Tracy and the sales books. That's kind of like the good old puppy dog clause. You know, you give your kid a puppy, and the more they have it, the less likely they are to let it go.
So a few things. Let me just come back here. One thing I would make sure is if you are doing what Corey's recommended, just make sure that it's drafted appropriately to be aligned with your MSA so that you guys are covered. Again, this is the UK he's talking about, but in the US, as you know, we have some very litigious areas. So
everywhere. What are you talking about?
well, I'm just saying, so
Yeah.
some countries aren't as litigious
Yeah.
as the US.
That's true.
So, okay. So, I think was it Todd? Bear with me here. Matt. I think it was Matt that had a win. Matt, you were saying something around dark web way back?
Oh yeah, we had an interesting win there. So classic manager in one of our customer companies that refuses to use a password manager and good password hygiene. Right? We all know the person. that showed up in our dark web with a compromised, or our dark web with a compromise that had a password in it. So we took it to her and presented it, and a bit of the oh crap light bulb moment. I used that password in 400 different places. So they had to go off and change them all, which is a win for us, right? And showing value, and
Good for you. Good
couldn't
for
have
you.
been the better person to drive the point home, right? In the company. So
yeah, wow. Good.
So we're actually using the dark web product to prospect as well. Because like in person at trade shows, any event I go to, any networking event, I always bring my iPad and I say, hey, what's your email? Put it in, boom. We use the Kaseya's dark web product. So yeah, my master password. That's funny. The problem I found with the dark web offering from Kaseya, and again, it doesn't, Kaseya doesn't make it up. It pulls from Have I Been Pawned and whatnot. A lot of these things that they pull up are very, very old. It's employees that left 10 years ago. People don't work there anymore. And the way I spin it is, well, their information, as you can see, is still being bought and sold. So which means your company's information is still out there. So that's kind of how I get over the hump, because the pushback I was getting before is, hey, this person didn't work here for 10 years. Why are you showing me, old stuff? So I kind of try to spin it where, hey, even though they didn't work here, their information, as you can see, is still bought and sold. Would you want that to happen to you? And 20 years from now, you're still circulating there. So that's how kind of we're spinning it, the dark web stuff.
Cool.
We don't learn from the past, we're doomed to repeat it.
That's true.
Devin, I've never looked in depth if this is possible, but can dark web tie either 365 IT glue, etc.? Can you come on, Devin, just so you can clarify what you're asking there?
Yeah, so talking about those accounts getting flagged that were really, really old, is there a way in dark web to make it so that it's only going to alert on an account that's either
Yes.
active and like Entra ID or something like that?
So Devin, what about shared mailboxes?
Maybe not necessarily active and enabled, but just present in
You could
some way
set it
to
up.
automatically filter.
Yeah. So when you do the prospecting portion of it, it shows everything. If you onboard them as a client and you choose to kind of enable them as a client in your org, you post on 365. I'm sorry, from ITG. And then you could get 365 Azure connection involved, and you could kind of specify which group do you want it to monitor. So we have a group, dynamic group, active users, and that's what I'm monitoring. So it won't pop up on old accounts. It'll only monitor the group that you specify. But for prospecting purposes, it pulls up literally everything. And that's what I was kind of alluding to before.
That makes sense. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, Amanda, are you with us?
Yep.
All right, thanks. If you could
Yes,
bring
I'll
everybody
share.
up to speed here, that'd be awesome. That if you didn't know this existed, about aggregating everything together.
Yep. So you should see the Fortify dashboard right now.
You do.
All right. So the upper right corner, you can see it's all my orgs, all partner orgs, and then the top 20% of partner orgs. So these three widgets are always here, so you can always see how everything ranks across. If you add more benchmarks, then that column starts to expand. So if you remember, yeah, I'm sorry, we don't have any snapshots for me to pick from. But if you remember, we have that feature now that if you have snapshots, and we will soon be releasing templates support as well. When you pick those from the benchmark, it'll compare it to the organization, but it'll also start comparing it across, and you'll see this column expand to include those benchmarks you're going against. So you'll know how it ranks against all of yours. And then Anthony also pointed out that we have it in our reports too. So the org vulnerability assessment report will show you the current state of the organization you've picked, Fortify score. And then in that middle dial, you'll also then see how it ranks against all the partner benchmarks. So
That's fantastic. Good. And Amanda, is that something that can be emailed out to the partner, on a recurring basis, or is that something they would need to deliver in a QBR or some type?
yeah, the reports can be scheduled, so they can be sent daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. So whatever frequency you want, you can schedule that report, and those will be emailed out.
All right, awesome. Questions for Amanda on that? And was that
And used into QBR, Andrew. That's kind of the, that's the point of sending them out quarterly, to having that schedule capability. Put it in their inbox, gives the account manager an excuse for the follow-up call.
there? All right. Let me go back to sharing here, Chip, and we'll move into some week in cyber, some fun stuff. First off, we had a great cyber call on what makes up a good vCISO. This URL is a 2-minute video of the biggest mistakes MSPs make when it comes to vCISO. Then let's move into this, Chip, that you pushed over to me a week ago, which I thought was, in hindsight, incredibly timely. I'll put this article, but Chip, I'll let you kind of chime in. This is the thesis I got, Chip, is that so Microsoft had to, in order to win some government business, I think they say it here, right? Yeah, some federal government's cloud business, they had to hire a certain number of these digital escorts. But with that, these digital escorts were supposed to be overseeing engineers from China that were working on the Defense Department's federal systems. Yet, when questioned about what they were doing, quote unquote, we're trusting what they were doing isn't malicious, but really can't tell. Obviously, I think after this article came out, this whistleblower, Microsoft did come out and say we're changing this program ASAP. But do I have that about right, Chip, in terms of the thesis of that article?
Yeah, I mean, you have it spot on. I mean, I'll go a step farther and say it appears to me that, Microsoft made the choice to offshore basically support. This was frontline support stuff, people calling 24 hours a day. Obviously, Microsoft is completely global, and Microsoft needed to staff up a large support organization. Decided to do it with China, and there's been actual subsequent whistleblowers about how this all came to pass. But they obviously had to have the US DoD, well, the US government sign off on this. And the solution to, putting Microsoft 365 and Microsoft tech support accounts into the hand in China is basically to put a middleman, between each one. I don't know what the ratio is, but let's say that it's my job as a US citizen to be one of these escorts. Well, so, I'm working the graveyard shift, and I can get instructions from any of 5 different people perhaps who are under my purview in China, and I'm executing instructions that they're giving me, or I'm shadowing them as they're taking direct action. We don't actually know which of those 2 things it is. I've read some conflicting stuff that I don't think is sourced real well, so I haven't seen which of those models it was. Either way, I mean, we obviously put some significant US government assets, and the Defense Department thing came out secondarily to this, by the way. We put them in the hands of, or at least very close to the hands of, one of our most significant geopolitical adversaries. And, I don't think anybody think that's wise. So much so that as soon as folks got wind of this, folks being those in today's Defense Department infrastructure, they immediately shut this down. So
Yeah.
Pause there. I'm sure other people have read up on this, or I'm guessing that other folks have read up on this. So it'd be an interesting discussion to have.
Which is going to take us into part 2 of this, Chip, which is the irony of ironies that literally just less than a week later, we have over 500 SharePoint servers get compromised in a 0-day, many of them the federal government's SharePoint servers, mind you, and lo and behold, who was the biggest adversary accessing all those SharePoint servers? You guessed it, China.
Yep.
So,
Are you suggesting there's a cause and effect here?
you know, I'm not suggesting anything, Andy. other
Wow.
than the irony of the compromise and the fact that, you know, for 10 years we've had, you know, one of our biggest adversaries having direct access to, you know, federal.
Oh, you're implying that this actually happened before this Microsoft Digital Escort episode, and that we're just finding out about it now, or is it a result of the
No,
Digital
no, no,
Escort
no.
episode?
No.
He's not implying that. At least that's not what I'm hearing. But
No.
he's. But certain your cause and effect comment is spot on, Andy. I mean, sure there is.
Yeah. So then we have this, and then ironically,
Hold on, Andrew. Flip back to that slide. Slide 7.
I want to ask this question. Why do you think they chose the Chinese digital escorts? Because of cost? Do you think profit had a reason for them to make that initial decision?
I think we wanted to enhance global relations. Andy.
Oh, okay. There you go.
No, what are you going to say?
First I wanted to jump back to slide 7, but to Andy's comment, I don't know. Is China even the cheapest place in the world to hire tech support people
Wait.
now?
Do you think China, if Microsoft approached them, hey, we'd like you to do this service for us, for our Defense Department industry, do you think they would be the low ball? I think they would.
They probably said we'll do it for free.
Exactly right.
Which should have set off some alarm bells.
You're going to go back to this.
Yeah, so you went by this so quickly, Andrew, this slide, and got onto the text. Like, I don't know if this is yesterday, so I'm not sure that everybody did see it. You know, who the agency is.
Yeah.
That's wrapped up in the SharePoint attack. So, you know,
now
we can move on. But
one of
what's
many.
that?
One of many. Federal.
Yes, one of many.
This
One of
isn't
many.
the only federal agency that is under this attack right now. But yeah, it's and again, it's a race against time, because at first was a 0 day, then they came out with a patch, and there's, you know, again, there's still internet facing devices. And I'll show you the attack.
Is this good enough for government work, do you think?
so then here, just to layer on the irony, Chip. And you and I shot this over to you last night.
Yep.
So think about this for a second. You're a U.S. So this is the final ruling going into effect, and we have Jacob Horn on the cyber call this coming Monday. And if you have anything to do in the defense industrial base, I highly encourage you to attend. He's one of the most knowledgeable people in the entire country on the subject. This is Jacob here. You'll if you ever seen him. But the irony, Chip, was that this final ruling is going into law. It's in its final hurdle before it's going to the OMB. There's basically, this is formality now, where this in 60 days will be in every single, or I shouldn't say every single, but start going into the large prime contracts, where now the real, you know, what hits the fan in, you know, CMMC world. The reason I say it's ironic, so ironic, is the last few slides we showed. Yet, if you want to do business with the federal government and you need CMMC level 2, if you're a true service provider, you need FedRAMP, and if you're an MSP, you're spending $100K and can't put anything in a SOC where there could be a foreign worker. Don't you find it a tad ironic, this whole thing, Chip?
No, I love it. I mean, I told our compliance officer this morning that he needs to change up our spec for our CMMC level 3 and FedRAMP at the end of this year, that, you know, we're going to run our SOC internally, but we're hiring Iranians to actually provide the hands-on monitoring and support. Yeah, I mean, yes, the irony is ridiculous. It's so rich that, I mean, I try to not, I really, really try very hard not to get political on this call. I'm struggling with it on this particular topic more than maybe any other one, but I just would encourage you guys to go read it about how this all came about. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, like I said, you know, if you're an MSP, like I'll leave it at this and stop the rant. Like if you're an MSP and your costs and your clients' costs are doubling, tripling, quadrupling, and yet, you know, you think about what we just showed you. It just the federal government is, you know, allowing Microsoft to have, you know, work being done by foreign adversaries, and yet we are, you know, going through, you know, a sigmoidoscopy these days now, which, you know, in some respects, I'm all for it, right? This is the, you know, you know, the defense industrial base, but I would just want an even playing field for everybody. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Chip, this is an interesting one. I don't know if you saw this, but I think you and everybody will find this interesting. Is that, have you ever heard of this? It's called Microsoft UI Framework. So Microsoft UI Framework is, I call this the thread of the week. You know, there's been banking Trojans for years and years and years. But this Microsoft UI automation framework is one where if you have somebody that's visually impaired, it allows, you know, UI access so that it can obviously present information to that individual in a very easy to read format. And the security researchers had been warning Microsoft for years that, you know, although this is great technology, because it allows you to interface directly with the code base without, you know, these authentication, you can extract the layer very easily. It was right to be abused by threat actors, and lo and behold, that is indeed what happened now, where they put this into, I don't know, it's been identified in, where is it here? 75 financial and crypto exchanges now, where this malware is showing up and reading when somebody's doing anything financially related. So just thought it was interesting, an interesting threat, and one that's been enabled. Any thought? I'll go to you 1 second, Enrique. Just let me ask Chip's thoughts on this as somebody that does coding for.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see this one, Andrew. I'd love if you drop the, like you, as you usually do, the link to whatever article directly in here. On your first slide, I was reading it as you were talking, and to make this even more insidious, it appears to be what it's calling out. Obviously, not obviously, but is you know, basically the accessibility framework to make portions of the UI more easily for people with vision or other challenges in using a computer. Which, if you think about it, like, again, it just goes to show you that financial hackers in particular have no, there's no, you can't hate them enough. I mean, not only are you targeting bank accounts and stuff, but you're specifically using accessibility controls that are there for people who are not likely having the easiest time in life already. Like, it just, how low can you go?
Enrique.
Thanks for sharing, Andrew. I'm going through the article here you shared, but so Microsoft was warned back in December, and to date, there's still no fix or patch for this vulnerability I'm taking.
For this Trojan that's come to light. It doesn't appear to be, Enrique. Like I said, these security researchers, as they often do, right, have often, I'll give you the similar analogy to direct send, right, that we've been talking about a few weeks on this. Security researchers have been warning Microsoft for years, we can use this to exploit companies, and our red teams do regularly use this. And sometimes Microsoft just, you know, it's like where they're putting their resources. Like, why is SharePoint and why is on-prem Exchange every, call it 6 to 9 months, going to have a massive compromise? Is because they're putting all their resources in anything that's M365 and related. I think the same thing here. What kind of a revenue generator is it for Microsoft? What kind of priority is it for them? I'm just hypothesizing based on
Yeah.
what you typically see.
Interesting. Well, they say to monitor a DLL there, in different processes, so at least there's some information.
Yeah. There was something, again, every week I don't get to get into this article, Chip. I really want to, this identity-centric report. But something was said, I think it might even be, was it Corey that if he's still on, that, it's still a bunch of, or was it Ben, either Ben or Corey, bunch of, it was Corey that rolled this out and saw all these, credential compromises, Corey, right away. Attack, adversary in the middle attacks, right? I think, if it's Corey still with us.
Yep, correct.
Yeah, great, Corey. So this report literally talks about the why behind this, and we've kind of talked about this. It's a great report. Like I said, we'll get into it. But the why behind it, in the last minute, I'll sum this up, is the phishing as a service supply chain within the ecosystem has just become so efficient and good at providing a platform for threat actors, and very affordable. So much so, if you take a look here, this Tycoon 2FA is the one that has been the predominant one in attacks, and the proliferation of this with these adversarial in the middle attacks is just utterly staggering, the growth of this. So that, again, we'll ideally get more into this report next week if we have time. We do have another guest next week, interestingly, as well. But yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Andrew. I feel like the consumer report for phishing as a service. You're giving us good guidance.
It is, and you can see who the leaders are right here too. And if you want, we can even go to Trustpilot and rate them.
Can I ask what the source is for this?
What's that, Andy?
What's the source?
Who did this?
No, what's the source of the document that you're pulling this from?
Yeah, it's eCentire. They're a massive.
Yep. Thank you.
Massive. I'll get the URL for everybody next week.
Can you put the slide? No, that one.
I can send the slides over to Ben, and he'll out for everybody. But I do want to get this URL for you guys for next week, so I'll make sure I get it in there. So I know we're at the top of the hour. Always a fun week. Always good to see everybody. And Chip, thanks as always for bantering. Pleasure seeing you.
Great call, Andrew.
Great seeing you all.
Corey, good to see your face.
Yeah, Corey, welcome back. Good to see everybody.
Stay safe, guys.
You good?
Yep. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next Thursday.